Hope everybody's having a great day today. We're really excited about today's webinar. It's something special, and we've never really done this before, but we're going to be doing a 2018 year in review. We're going to talk about some things we're excited about for 2019, and we're going to have a special guest at the end of the presentation with Matt Murray, the CTO of AVPro. So thanks again for attending. I hope everybody's had a great, successful 2018. I hope everybody's staying busy out there in the field, installing lots of products. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we're excited for 2019. We've got a couple questions from some of the attendees already. So Matt and I will definitely address those towards the end of the webinar. And thank you for those who have sent in questions previously. We'll definitely get those all addressed too. Feel free to type in questions as we're going along here into the question box. I'll do my best to get to all of them, as we go along here. If we don't get any questions before the end of the hour, we'll definitely make sure to address those offline, and we'll email everybody individually and get you guys rolling on some of those questions that you might have. So as we're getting started here, just a quick introduction. Most of you probably know us. That's why you're here. But we are AVPro Global. We have a couple of things going on here with AVPro. We have AVPro Edge, which is all of our connectivity products, our matrix switches, extenders, things like that. Meridio is also ours. We do a lot of HDMI testing, a lot of video calibration with products like the Fox and the Hound and the 6A and 6G generators. We're doing a lot of troubleshooting and signal generation and things like that. Most of our products come with a 10-year warranty, things like the extenders. It seems to be a very popular reason for people to use our products. Things that we build are designed from scratch. We're building products specifically for integrators and listening to your guys' feedback. Everything that we build is built to a military grade spec. Everything that we build is pretty tough. We've been doing 4K HDR wide color gamut since about 2015, so we've kind of been ahead of the game, and we've been making these products now for a couple years, and we're looking forward to 2019 and to make even more products to make the integrators' lives easier. So a little bit about me. My name is Jason Dustel. I'm with AVPro Global. I'm responsible for training and education. I've been dealing with AV products my entire life. I love this world. I play with this stuff at home even when I'm not working. This is year 19 for me. Next year will be 20. I can't believe it. But 15 of those years have been installing home theaters and doing video distribution and things like that, mounting TVs, everything that you guys are doing in the field today. For the past 10 years, I've been calibrating displays, projectors, flat panels, computer monitors. I've been involved in that world quite heavily for the past few years. I'm an authorized ISF trainer, also HD-based trainer. Last year, I was very honored to win the 2017 Dealerscope 40 Under 40 Award. And then most recently, I've been contributing to a CTA R10 WG3 home theater group, which has been pretty exciting. So again, today's agenda, we're going to look at some of the things that we saw in 2018, do a quick rewind for you. We're going to look at some of the products and talk about some of the things that we're looking forward to 2019. We've got Matt here with us. He's the CTO of the company. We're going to do some Q&A with him as well. So 2018, what did we go through in 2018? We were quite busy. We launched 14 new products, which was a milestone for us. That was a lot of products for us to launch in just 1 year. We got into some really unique products like the AVDM AUHD. We did a webinar on that a couple of months ago. I hope some of you were able to attend it. For the first time ever, we were able to downmix some of the high-res object-based audio formats. It was a first for us, which is really cool. We got into the streaming business with the Impulse, which we did a webinar on that a little while ago too with Tom. So I hope a lot of you got a chance to check that out. Being able to stream directly to YouTube or Facebook is going to be a game changer for content creators, small businesses, and things like that. We moved into a brand new facility here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We got a lot more room. We got a dedicated studio now to do webinars like this and things like that. We were at every major show this year. We were at CEDIA, the USA Infocom, Infocom China. That's going to be AVIXA, I think, going forward. So you'll start to see that name pop up. We attended ISE in Amsterdam and the WFX conference in Orlando. We expanded our support roles greatly. For those of you who are using our products now, if you've ever called in a tech support, we've got a lot more people on staff now. We've expanded our support roles quite a bit. We grew a worldwide distribution chain. We've now got distributors all over the world. That was new for us this year. We did several ISF classes for level 3 video calibration. I think we did about 7 or 8 of those classes around the world. We did several educational online seminars, kind of like this one and the Impulse webinar that we just mentioned. We did a lot of those this year. We officially launched a commercial sales division. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later during the Q&A, but that's a really big deal for us. And we also launched our own control system, AVPro Canvas CSI, which we do have a webinar on that as well on our YouTube page if you want to check that out. We did that, I feel like, at the maybe over summer or so. So if you go back to our YouTube page and check out some of our recorded videos, you can see some of these webinars that we have done in 2018. So going forward to 2019, a couple things that we are going to be dabbling in. We're definitely going to be looking at some 8K resolution, some 8K displays. The big talk of the town right now is HDMI 2.1 and how we're going to graduate from 18 gigs to 48 gigs. 18 gigs was a brand new thing for a lot of people. And, you know, there was some growing pains with 18 gigs, but guys, that was just a dress rehearsal. 48 gigs is coming. It's right around the corner. So, you know, of course, as this industry tends to evolve, as soon as you get really good at something, something else comes along. So we're going to have to really tackle HDMI 2.1 and 48 gigs. And that leads me into my next bullet point here. We're dealing a lot with fiber these days. 48 gigs is a lot of data to be passing. So when you're speccing out projects and you're pre-wiring homes or you're retrofitting homes and things like that, we definitely want to start making sure you're looking at fiber. My biggest recommendation for integrators these days is to make sure you're at least running conduit. That way it's easy to swap out cables if you need to. But fiber is going to be it going forward. I mean, we're dealing with 48 gigs, you know, next year and the year after and going forward, but the spec for 176 gigs has already been written. So we're going to see that in a few more years. So fiber is definitely going to be the way to go. This year we saw some really smart devices doing things like testing your HDMI cables and making sure that they can pass things like HDR. We saw on the Xbox and Apple TV and even more devices that they're starting to test signals for us and starting to get rid of some of the headaches for us. We really hope to see some more of that. 2019, we're super excited to see a brand new product called the 7G. We're going to have a lot more visibility over things like EDID. We're going to be able to generate not only video signals, but also audio signals and all kinds of different flavors. We have AVPro Academy launching this year. We're going to have our own course you can take, which covers all of our product. We talk about things like, you know, successful ways to build infrastructure for your customers. And coming out of AVPro Academy this year, you'll have your ISF Level 1 certification. So more information on that, if you hit up our AVPro Edge Facebook page and look for training, you'll see some dates and pricing and stuff on AVPro Academy. We're super excited about that. And then we're also going to be launching some new commercial AV products. We're going to be looking at things like really, really big matrix switches for really big jobs. So there's some commercial stuff coming. A lot of excitement over here at AVPro Edge for 2019. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you our CTO, Matt Murray. Matt Murray has been involved in this industry for quite a long time. He's a co-founder of AVPro Global. He's also our CTO, like I mentioned. Matt's been instructing ISF for many years. He's a co-chairman and a contributor to the CTA, and he's been an instructor for CEDIA and AVIXA. So without further ado, welcome, Matt. Hey, there we are. All right, very cool. How's it going, Matt? How's everything with you today?
Good.
Good to hear. So thank you for being here. It looks like we've got a couple of questions that have come into the chat box already, and we've got a couple of questions queued up from people emailing. Before we get to the questions, I just wanted to kind of ask you and kind of get your perspective on what we're looking forward to in 2019.
Well, the big stuff from a technology standpoint that we're going to be looking at is a lot of software-based developments. So, you know, we've kind of had a lot of our focus in R&D and kind of engineering team focused on developing new hardware, working with different types of silicon, different chips, different things like that. Now we're 2019 is going to be, obviously we're still going to do a lot of hardware, but there's going to be a lot more emphasis put into the software side. You know, how are things controlled? How is it for an installer out in the field to use? Is it, you know, too complicated to implement? These things like that. So it's going to be a really great year for those type of implementations.
You know, one thing I love about this company so much is I was a customer turned into an employee. And one of the reasons I was so passionate about working with AVPro was that you guys, we listen to the integrators, and we really take their feedback seriously, and we'll design products and stuff based on their feedback. So I think that's really something that integrators really appreciate.
Yep, it's true. You know, the installers, everyone in the field, you know, you guys really do have the best ideas. So, you know, in a way, thank you for telling us what to do. You know, all we have to do, if we open our ears and listen to you guys, we'll know exactly what we need to do.
Very cool, very cool. Let's get to a couple of the questions. We're going to talk about a couple of questions that came in from Matt Bailey. Matt Bailey is the technical manager for Lighting and Production Equipment Incorporated in Atlanta, Georgia. So thank you, Matt, for your questions. He's kind of got a few questions within his questions. So let's take these one at a time, and we'll tackle them one at a time. Number one, how do you see AVPro, where do you see AVPro in the marketplace in the next 5 years? Any new business segments or product segments or priorities over the next 5 years?
So the kind of roadmap that we want to kind of maintain is, obviously we kind of started with test and measurement, building HDMI test tools for people, baseband video test tools, and then we kind of moved into connectivity, primarily focused on high bandwidth implementations, 18 gig, stuff like that. So that primarily is applying into the residential market. So over the next years, we want to start using some of our talent with FPGA chip design and stuff like that to make some really interesting products for the commercial world. So things like video wall processors, conferencing systems, you know, picture-in-picture, picture-on-picture, just ways to, you know, further manipulate video to make really interesting things happen. Because as you know, this kind of industry progresses in both worlds. You know, we need to be able to offer something incredibly unique, you know, and go beyond just video distribution in general. So roadmap from that standpoint is going to be, you know, obviously we're going to stay focused on residential high bandwidth stuff. Some new products will be developed for commercial market, you know, and then from there we're looking at kind of going into some of the pro market as well. You know, since we are an actual, you know, manufacturing company, we ultimately want to be a solutions company, you know, so there's no reason we can't have a lot of things, but it just kind of has to be step by step.
Good, good. Matt also asks if we're considering working with any other technologies or standards, such as like AVB or SDI or NDI, and he also mentions fiber. You know, we're very passionate about fiber right now, just because of, you know, bandwidth requirements and distances that people are running signals and things like that. But how do you feel, Matt, about AVB, SDI, NDI, things like that, those types of connections? And from my perspective, I think too, I see a lot of those types of connections in more like pro audio environments.
Well, yeah, that's a roadmap item, you know, and that's those NDI and AVB and SDI would kind of fall in with Dante is a thing that we're looking at as well. We definitely want to address the pro market and be effective there. That is in the future for sure. So those are technologies that we're not deep in the woods on R&D yet, but they're kind of in the, you know, investigatory phase.
Cool. I know I've seen, you know, that one of the Impulse models that we have has an SDI connection. So if you have a prosumer or even a professional camera and you want to do some streaming, we've got the SDI connection on the Impulse. So no, that's great. And then Matt's last question: how do you differentiate yourself from vendors like Blackmagic Design, Aja, Crestron, AMX, etc.?
Just to hang on he asked about fiber too.
Oh, sure, yes.
You know, the big thing is fiber is a reality, becoming more and more so. We really like fiber. The bandwidth requirements, especially when you're going into HDMI 2.1, fiber is going to be an easier way to do it. It's not going to be the only way to do it, but it's going to be the best way to do it probably. But it also has some other benefits like no interference, ultra long distance runs, things like that. Those impact the commercial and pro environment as well. So that's why we're looking at those technologies. And in terms of what makes us different from a lot of these companies, there's just some kind of inherent things, how we look at the whole product development cycle. We try not to develop products from a box. So we try to gather as much data as we can from the field, coming from salespeople, coming from tech support, coming from these various places. And we try to build things that people are asking for. We are a vertically integrated company. Our R&D and everything is all one company. So we're not a typical ODM relationship type company. We're in control of the product development from all aspects of it. We have a really strong warranty. We believe the products will last forever, basically. So, that's a big thing. And then the other thing I think that really kind of differentiates us is the way that we view the whole customer interaction as a whole. For instance, just speaking from the tech support side of things, if you call into our tech support, in fact, we welcome phone calls into our tech support if you're not even using any of our products, because our support staff is trained to troubleshoot systems, not troubleshoot products. And that's one of the things that we really want everybody to know is, if you call, our goal isn't going to be basically to say, okay, well, my widget works, so have a nice day, finish, you're good to go. So, we're basically training everybody to have the mindset of, no, we need to troubleshoot the whole system and make the whole entire product work.
Very cool, so, very cool. And Matt's last question here is about lighting control.
Lighting control, we have a service that we offer called Canvas for lighting control, and it's something that can be implemented alongside of that. But I think, again, that's going to be something that's going to roll along with the pro market when we get to that point.
Cool. Very good, very good. Our next question comes from Dan Golich. He's from DG AV Consulting. And this seems like it kind of falls in more of a tech support kind of question, but wanted to ask you and see what you thought about this. So Dan had a unique situation here. He had a client using one of our 16 by 16 HDMI matrix switches. One of his sources was a DirecTV box, and the DirecTV box was putting out a component video or YUV or YCBCR color space when it was set to 1080i. But when the cable box or the DirecTV box was set to 720p, it was sending out RGB. So it was causing a little bit of a glitch in the system. He was curious if it'd be better to have the field tech always set up to EDIT on the matrix switch for the DirecTV box, or if he should do any like manual adjustments, or what do you think would be the best course of action?
That's kind of that's going to be depending on how you want the system to perform, right? So if you're using a projector that maybe is an RGB only, you're going to have to deal with that problem, because right. Some things are better at supporting RGB. A lot of specifically projectors, they're functioning in different modes. A lot of your panels aren't going to have an issue.
Yeah.
But it can cause different things to happen on the screen, and there's ways to overcome it with EDID. Mm-hmm. You can use EDIDs that don't have RGB in there, or the opposite, where it doesn't have YUV in there. So it can definitely be managed with EDIDs. The way that the specific source itself works is kind of varies from source to source to source. So sometimes you just have to kind of experiment a little bit, find out what EDID is going to work.
Yeah, I've even noticed too, being out in the field myself sometimes, working with the troubleshooting test equipment like the 6G and the Fox and Hound and things like that. I've even noticed sometimes too that the EDID is just there. How the source responds to that EDID is kind of up to the source, right? So the EDID might ask for a certain thing, but the source might put out something else. I've seen that before.
It's definitely true, and none of those obstacles are barriers to implementation. I don't think. I think sometimes we just have to get creative. Maybe use scalers and things like that to kind of get things to work smoothly.
When we say scalers, you're referring to like the AVPro, like SC1 or SC2,
something of that
like an external scaler. That would probably help him. Cool, that sounds good. Dan, I hope that answers your question a little bit. If not, feel free to give us a call or send us an email, marketing@AVPro Global. We'll be happy to answer that question for you and more thoroughly in case that wasn't quite enough for you. Next question comes in from Matt Hockey. He's from Smarter Homes and Advanced AV Solutions, and it looks like in Austin, Texas. And Matt asks, does AVPro have plans for video over IP solutions in the future? Or any comments regarding performance of those systems compared to HD-Base-T?
So I get asked this actually quite a bit. Obviously, AV over IP is major in the marketplace. It's heavily talked about in all of the publications and stuff. And to answer, the short answer is yes, we are actively engaging in HD over IP development in various forms. So we're developing a very robust platform that I think the integrators are going to be very happy with when that starts to launch. And in terms of the way that the AV over IP systems are working and stuff, I'm a firm believer that there's a time and a place for all of these technologies. Again, we want to talk about AVPro Edge as a solutions provider. If I'm doing an installation in a $20 million mansion and it's for a Hollywood producer who produces movies, I'm probably going to want to go with something more in the uncompressed realm and do something like that for them so that they can view their own movies in their own way, right? Sure. If someone's looking for maybe a different type of system in terms of things that it can do, AV over IP gives you some interesting opportunities with video walls and multi-viewers and stuff like that. It's worth noting you have to kind of be careful with the AV over IP technologies because there is different levels of compression going on there. Sure. So right now your kind of top one is going to be using a 10 gig type network, which greatly reduces the amount of compression required. It's still there. There's a lot of technologies using 1 gig. Those ones are great, low cost implementations into massive systems. Sure. But the picture quality does suffer, but it depends on what the customer's goals are, right?
Good. Okay. So, cool. Good. Another question came in from AV distributors in Australia. They've been using our products now for a little while, and they love our matrix switches. And one of our newest products, the SC2 scaler, that can scale all the way down to 480. They were curious if eventually we'll have those SC2 scaling capabilities built into the matrix switch.
So yes, we will. That's the short answer. And just to give you an idea of what's kind of happening, doing that level of scaling is going to require some additional firepower in the engineering and R&D. So we've actually got new engineers that have just started, and one of the reasons we've hired them is to do some of these FPGA things I was talking about, work with some of the scaling chips and things like that to basically enhance this technology, number one, and also implement it into all of our products. So yes, that is most definitely on the roadmap to have more robust up, down, however you want it scaling on the switches.
Another question came in. I'm not sure who exactly submitted this one, but he says, what do you consider the most when developing a new product?
The thing that we try to consider the most is one, can it handle everything that we need it to handle? So that's going to be number one. Is it going to hit all of the kind of buttons we need to press? Is it 18 gig? Is it HDR? Is it going to be supporting Dolby Vision? All of these things. So that's kind of number one, but also like a tied for first place is what additional things can we do within reason and cost parameters? We try to be cost competitive, obviously, but is there anything we can add here that would make an integrator's life easy? Or easier, for instance, like our extenders, having built-in test patterns, that was specifically built to make troubleshooting a little bit easier.
Right.
So we definitely don't shy away from the reality that technicians are, going to need to do troubleshooting. So we try to put troubleshooting tools in. We try to give them better EDID management. We try to give them test patterns. We try to give them scaling as much as we possibly can.
So guys, we're very, very interested in hearing your feedback on products and things like that. So if you're using our product and you wish it did this or did that, feel free to give us that feedback, because we're always listening to you guys. That's our main goal. That's great. Name one thing an integrator should do to prepare for 48 gigs in HDMI 2.1.
So HDMI 2.1 is very interesting. One of the most exciting things from my standpoint is just the way that it's actually done. It's going to make better systems for sure. From the bandwidth standpoint, there's kind of two levels. There's a 24 gig level. Interestingly enough, if you have an 18 gig copper cable today, since you pick up a fourth TMDS channel, the clock wire basically gets hijacked and turned into another TMDS. Clock goes embedded. So a current 18 gig HDMI cable technically is going to work for HDMI 2.1 at a 24 gig level, 6 gig per channel times 4.
Right.
So from a bandwidth constraint, it's going to be a leap, definitely. You'll see 24 gig a lot sooner than you'll see 48 in terms of sources and sinks. And when you start getting to 48 gig, yeah, just like I was saying earlier, if you're using fiber infrastructure, I tell everybody all the time, make sure you're at least pulling fiber, because it's going to get more and more difficult to do HDMI baseband video with copper cables, because as you increase bandwidth and frequencies and things like that, obviously not only do you start hitting a ceiling, but you also start hitting issues with the size of cables and things like that. So,
if we're compressing 18 gig stuff down to 10 to make it fit through the pipeline and stuff, I can only imagine how difficult it's going to be to compress 48 to get it to fit through as well. So running fiber is probably going to solve most of these problems.
Fiber is an excellent fail-safe. If you can't run conduit, run a fiber.
Sure.
And that's normally what I tell people.
Yeah.
If you can't run a conduit to the location, at least pull a couple strands of fiber. That way, you've got at least, to our best guess right now, around 80 gig of nominal bandwidth in the wall, so you have something to work with there.
And I love the fact, coming from an installation background especially, I love the fact that we can terminate fiber now in less than a minute, no problem.
That's definitely changed the game. There's a company out there that we know, Clearline. They've done amazing things making that stuff simple, easy to do. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing. We have a lot of people who are using that, installing that.
Sure.
It's becoming mainstream.
There's nothing stopping an average home build or contractor right now. There's nothing stopping them from using fiber, because the prices have come down quite a bit.
Yep.
It's easy to terminate in the field.
Designed to pull. It's all good.
I remember I remember hearing almost horror stories back in the day about people getting the fiberglass stuck in their eye and stuck in their finger, and it's always been this real scary thing. Specialized tools and expensive this and expensive that, but now you can just buy a kit and terminate it right there in the field on the spot.
Definitely great advancements.
Very good, very good. How do you guys think picture quality will be affected by HDMI 2.1? I've got a few words on that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think picture quality is going to get better for certain applications. Higher frame rate, obviously going to be better for gamers, sports, things like that.
Right.
The other thing that is going to be kind of nice is you have more pixel density. So that means, which I actually really like, the idea of bigger screens. So as we move to having your whole living room wall, television.
Sure.
Pixel density becomes important. The other thing that is really interesting to me, and I think once we get to 2.1, you'll start seeing HDR kind of start presenting in the commercial space as well.
Good.
Because HDR, better for viewing in the daylight. That's a simple advertising concept. If I'm the brightest and most brilliant, it's going to be better. The other thing is we're starting to see a big transition over to digital display technologies for employee communication and things like that specifically. Yep. So the goal is you want to be able to walk up and look at something like it's a piece of paper and read it at close proximity. So definitely going to be some major advantages and major applications for for these new formats that we're going to get.
I'm personally excited to see high frame rate for sports. I think it's going to be great. You know, anytime you watch football or soccer or something, and the ball kind of skirts across the field or something, 120 frames per second, I think is going to clean that up quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
We're not going to have to compress things like, you know, right now the holy grail is kind of, you know, 4K, 60, 444, 10-bit HDR with object-based audio.
Yeah.
You add all that stuff together, and now you've exceeded the 18 gig, you know, pipeline. But now with 48, now we're way under. So we got lots of headroom to work with. I think we're going to be able to go to 10K even with resolution.
Yep.
With 2.1.
Yep. And if everything is working how it's all supposed to, 2.1 is not going to be as major of a transition as it was from 1.4 to 2.0.
Sure.
So once the sources and sinks are capable, you know, like I said, you may already own an HDMI cable that will work.
Right.
You know, so there's a lot of good coming from this. You know, if you read the whole document, there's a lot of good things in there.
Does your you know, some things I've seen pop up already are some HDMI 2.1 features. You know, we haven't seen anything yet that's full-blown 2.1, but there's some features that have popped up already, like eARC. You know, eARC's going to be a really big game changer. You know, coming from an installation background myself and talking to installers all over the place, ARC works great when it works.
Right.
And people are always, you know, running into problems with it. eARC is supposed to fix a lot of that
stuff.
Well,
eARC is just, you know, giving you obviously higher resolution audio, so you can have different bit streams, higher bandwidth bit streams, but it also, the way that it's done is different, so it should kind of help shore things up in terms of reliability too. Very
good. A couple of questions just came in. Going back to the fiber stuff we were talking about before, Matt. Dale Stoltz, it looks like. Sorry if I mispronounced that, Dale. But Dale asks, does fiber for HDMI need to be single mode fiber?
Not necessarily. Single mode is an advantage when you want to go over 1,000 feet. So if you're going over 1,000 feet, then single mode is going to be probably what you want to use.
Single mode is, if I'm not mistaken, is used like underground, city to city. Like they use single mode long distance stuff, right?
Yeah, and it's just a different way that the optics work and things like that. But it's still bidirectional. That's kind of a common misconception. But yeah, single mode is going to be the solution when you need to go long distances. Multi-mode, use that when you're in kind of your final, you know, what we call the end of the road application. Like, you know, you've got fiber ran up to your house. Now let's take it and run it through your house now.
I noticed when we moved into this building, there was multi-mode fiber ran to almost every room.
Yeah, we ran fiber all over here.
And this is a pretty big building, and the multi-mode's fine for those distances. Totally fine.
Yep.
Good. Another question comes in from Nick Tamburi. Can you tell us about your control system program? Sounds like he's talking about Canvas specifically.
So Canvas, what that is, really at its core, it's a service offering right now. So what we do is if an installer is out there and wants to land some additional work, we can build really amazing control systems that have overlays. They're custom to exactly what you're doing. And this bar restaurant is kind of where we get a lot of the customers who are doing that. You know, bars, restaurants, and commercial establishments, like hotels, things like that. And the system is really a consultation that you'll have with our programmers here, and you know, with your customer as well. And we'll build a really, really affordable system that is very, very, very robust. Oftentimes we get comments that it's the best control system they've ever seen, kind of thing. Nice. So it's very, very good. It's not to the point yet where we have enough documentation and training material where we can just hand it over to an installer or something to be able to kind of do. So it's kind of that's something that's going to be being worked on during the year as well, is trying to deliver something that you guys can customize yourselves as well. But yeah, that's basically kind of what it is.
I really like the Canvas interface. Like, it does a lot of really cool things that you don't really think about till you see it. Like when you start a ceiling fan in one of the rooms on the display.
Can start.
Yeah, the fan actually spins, or the fireplace actually lights up on it. Just little nuances like that. Or whatever.
Kind of, you know, our programming crew is really good. Basically, if you can dream it, they can do it.
Yeah.
You know, so
that's great.
That's kind of the goal there.
That's great. Cool. Another question comes in from Paul. He says, For those of us who have updated our system to 18 gigs, will there be some kind of upgraded ability for these? And I think he's thinking things like for the matrix switch, like maybe cards you can take in and out for more bandwidth or something.
That's actually a really great question. That's something that we talk about constantly here. You know, how does AVPro want to be to the marketplace?
Right.
And we're absolutely discussing upgrade paths for existing customers of ours. And that'll probably become some public information next year once we start having HDMI 2.1 products. The reality is we can do some firmware updates to get some of the features, but a lot of the new spec is going to require new silicon.
Sure.
But we're definitely not in the business of leaving our customers hanging. So, you know, we want our customers to be our customers for good. So, we're definitely planning an upgrade path.
Good. Going back to the HDMI 2.1 conversation, do you think that whether it's AVPro product or consumer product, do you think that we'll see any full-blown HDMI 2.1 in 2019?
Yes, absolutely. I think you'll start seeing display manufacturers at CES.
Yep. And CES is what, 3 weeks away, 4 weeks away?
Yep.
So it's coming.
It's definitely going to start coming.
Mm-hmm.
You'll start seeing some of the things that are existing source devices out there doing firmware updates to enable some of these features that can be done.
Sure.
You know, we're planning on having some HDMI 2.1 gear during the course of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, realistically, maybe around third quarter is kind of a safe estimate time frame.
I know we're going to have, we talked before about the Meridio 7G, the new generator that's coming. And we mentioned eARC once before, and if I'm not mistaken, the 7G can test for eARC, yeah?
7G is going to address many things that'll be highly relevant for what people are doing today, including eARC, ARC, being able to generate test tones and signals, including audio test tones via HDMI, via Toslink, via SPDIF, and via eARC and ARC.
Good.
So now you have a tool out there that allows you to, plug directly into an AVR or a display and kind of see, what are my real capabilities here?
Good.
Because, the test tool is coming along because, if someone quotes a specific audio compatibility, that can mean any number of things.
Very cool. Very cool. I don't see any other questions coming into the chat box. I just want to ask you, and guys, feel free if you do have any questions that you want to ask Matt or myself, either from a calibration standpoint or connectivity standpoint or whatever you'd like to ask. Feel free to get those questions in. We've got a few more minutes to go, so feel free to ask away. I'm just curious, just me to you, what are you most excited about for 2019 AV-wise?
Well, to be honest, it's going to be bigger displays.
Yeah, totally.
I'm a user of the technology that we kind of, preach and stuff here. So ISF and things like that, they do really kind of get me excited. I'll try to own as much stuff as I can afford. It's
funny to me now that, I remember buying my first 50-inch TV. It was a Samsung DLP. It was, I think, a 5086 was the model number.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're talking like 2004 or 5. 50 was a big TV back then. And now 50 is like the little one or the standard.
Right.
And we're starting to see 75s, 85s, 88s. We've got a 100 plus inch or right at 100-inch Sony right now too.
Yep, Z9F.
So these massive screens.
Z9D.
Yep, smaller pixel densities, higher resolutions, more color depth, brighter HDR highlights. I remember hearing fairly recently about one of the manufacturers was planning on a 3000 nit monitor this year, a 3000 nit display, which it's super exciting because we talk a lot about HDR and how bright the TV can get, but what a lot of people don't realize is that if it's a 2000 nit television, that doesn't mean it's 2000 nits all the time. That's just the bright highlights.
Right.
Chrome off of a bumper, reflections off of water, a flame, things like that. So what we're seeing right now in the HDR world as far as content creation is we kind of have 3 levels that movies are being mastered at for disc. A lot of movies are at 1000 nits, We have TVs that do 1,000 nits now, so that's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But the next step up goes to 4,000 nits, and the step up after that's 10,000 nits. So eventually we're going to have these brighter and brighter TVs, or at least that have brighter capabilities. I'm really looking forward to maybe seeing a 4,000 nit display on a 4,000 nit movie without any tone mapping.
Right.
That's going to be some of the stuff I'm looking forward to myself.
A lot of good stuff, a lot of fun things happening. You know, we're a lot of these projects we're working on are a lot of fun for me. It's especially like the video wall projects and the multi-view projects. You know, those are really exciting things. You know that we're working on in 2019.
Yeah.
So it should be a great year for some of this.
There's never a shortage of cool things to talk about and do and build and integrate. A couple more questions came in right at the end here. Gary asks, from a commercial perspective, can you talk about USB-C extension?
So USB-C, at the core of what it is, essentially for us video people, is just another connection for DisplayPort.
Sure.
Yeah, those products are coming. You know, so you can do things. You'll see simple things like dongles coming out where it's just USB-C to HDMI.
Sure.
You see stuff like that that's commonly available right now. You know, we're making some products in our video conferencing line of stuff called ConferX, which you guys will see ConferX coming out early next year. It's going to be some great stuff. You know, wall plates, conferencing codecs, things like that. And those are going to start supporting USB-C direct input. So if you have a USB-C cable, you can go straight into it.
So funny enough, you know, my computer froze up a little earlier, and it's been acting kind of weird lately, and I've been sort of kind of shopping for a laptop, maybe browsing a little bit, I guess you could call it, and that's all I'm seeing now is USB-C. All the phones, all the laptops.
Yeah, it'll be great, you know, because it simplifies everything. I think for us in the video world, it's not a major challenge because, like I said, you can do dongles and things like that. But having direct feed for USB-C, that's something that you'll start seeing on a lot of products too.
I also like too that you can't put it in wrong. It just no matter what it goes in, it's no big deal. Dan Goldich asks, when will we expect a larger cloud matrix switch?
So the Cloud 9, that is our FPGA based matrix switching product. That's basically, you know, 100% our R&D doing that, and building all of the little, you know, how does the video work and stuff. Really great, smooth, slick product. People have been asking for this. Bigger versions will start having a 20 by 20, probably around March. That'll probably be ready.
Nice. 20 by 20, that's great.
20 by 20, those are, you know, and those are going to 4K as well.
Oh, cool.
So those are going to be 4K. Those will be pretty good powerhouse switchers. You know, real robust switching and all that kind of stuff.
Very cool. Good. Gary Cushing asks, it sounds like he may have almost a technical question here or a tech support type question. He says he installed a flux matrix, the multi-viewer, right?
Yep.
He installed a multi-viewer yesterday and the IP driver did not work. Any idea why? Is it possible to speak to the driver creator for a solution? We also thought it was strange that the MAC address entered was 000000. Oh, and he also mentioned too, it was a Control 4 driver.
Okay. The Control 4 driver, yes, we have the access to the driver creators. So yeah, that's not an issue. The IP driver not working, that can be various things, network things like that. You know, really have to probably dig into this more to find out exactly, you know, what's going on and what the scenario is. But you know, the IP drivers, they're all available. We know they work. They've been used many times before. So I'm sure it's just a matter of just doing some troubleshooting and getting to the bottom of it.
So probably for Gary, or for Craig in this situation, maybe he should give us a call.
We'll get in touch.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That sounds good. I don't see any other questions that have come in, and we've gone through all of them that were emailed in. Do you have any closing statements? Do you have anything to wish well to everybody for 2019?
Yeah, I mean, I just, you know, really appreciate you guys joining us. You know, if you guys have any questions, like tech support questions, don't hesitate to get those to me. You can send them to the marketing team, marketing at avproglobal.com. You can send them to me, Matt at avproglobal.com. We're definitely, eager to get your questions answered and anything else that you need done.
Mm-hmm.
So
good. Well, guys, if you're new to AVPro, welcome. We're here for you. Feel free to give us a call anytime. You can also reach us online via chat from our website. And of course, Matt just gave us some email addresses that you can always reach out to us. If you're continuing, you've been using AVPro and Meridio products and doing things like Canvas, we thank you guys. We wish you a well 2019. Stay busy and be safe out there.
Yep.
Anything else?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you have any other questions that maybe you didn't get time to type in or anything like that, feel free to shoot them over to us. That's marketing at avproglobal.com. This session will be recorded, so if you had to dip out early or anything like that, or you didn't catch the beginning or something, we're going to get this hosted up on our YouTube page in the next 24 to 48 hours. Happy holidays, guys. Be safe out there, and thanks a bunch for being here. Thanks, Matt.
Yep.